I've been promising it. You've been waiting all year for it. Well, maybe not. But some of you have been waiting for me to give my prediction for the 2022 real estate market. That's what I'm talking about today. Stick around. Hi, welcome back. My name's Joe Brown. I'm a realtor with Century 21, List with Beggins, located in South Tampa. Thank you so much for being here with me today. So, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about these videos or what topics you want to hear about. And also share this with your friends and family who you think could benefit or need to hear this information. I thank you so much for doing that. So, if you've been with me this past year, you know I give a market update every month, and it has been a wild ride. It really has. So, what is 2022 going to hold for us? Well, what are people expecting? A crash, thousands of foreclosures flooding the market. There's going to be a crash. I don't see that happening. Okay, so let me tell you a couple things. So the number one factor that's impacting the market right now is the low inventory. So if you happened to see my video 2 weeks ago, and if you didn't, I'll put a link to it above here, but in that video, I show a 3-year graph of inventory. And right now, we are 1/3 of where we were 2 years ago. 1/3. That lack of inventory is really pushing the market. I've used this analogy before. If I only have 20 pairs of sunglasses, that's all I can sell. But if I have 100 people wanting to buy a pair of sunglasses and I only have 20, they're going to get into a bidding war. And I'm going to pay more than the guy next to me. With my sunglasses, that's what we're finding in the housing market, right? The low inventory, but there's still buyer demand. That's driving the prices up. The number two factor that's going to impact the real estate market this coming year is rising interest rates. So, again, I did this a couple weeks ago when I talked about inflation. And boy, inflation's going to be terrible. And so the government response to inflation is to raise interest rates. So raising interest rates makes money more expensive to borrow. And so when money's more expensive to borrow, it tightens up what people can spend. We're going to see that effect. So last year, 2021, around May or June, I don't know the exact month, but mortgage rates were about 2.6%. Right now, at the end of December, they're 3.1. And economists think by the end of the year, they could be at 3.8%. Now, again, a lot of that depends on this COVID pandemic and world situations, but assuming everything holds even, they expect the interest rates to go up to about 3.8%. That is going to make how much house people can buy or what they can afford tighten up. So the low interest rates, the low inventory, rising interest rates, we are still going to see price acceleration. Okay, what I mean by that is, so for example, one of my clients bought a house in Dunedin 2 years ago, paid $211,000 for it. Well, right now it's valued 1 year later close to $300,000 after 1 year. So we are still going to see a price acceleration, but not to the degree that we've seen it this past year. Home prices in Tampa accelerated about 25% this past year. We're still going to see growth, maybe 6, 8, 10% a year. I don't expect that we'll see that 25% growth that we did last year. But talk about that growth last year, right? That 25%. That has scared a lot of buyers off. People were willing to buy real estate and they saw what prices were doing. They said, whoa, we are not going to buy a house right now. We are going to wait for the prices to come down. Well, I hate to tell you, you may be waiting a long time for prices to come down, right? And for prices to come down, it goes back to the inventory. You have to see a significant increase in the amount of inventory for it to really affect prices. So again, we only have about 1 month of inventory on the market. To really impact prices, you need to have 7 or 8 months of inventory on the market, which is about 7 or 8 times what we have now. So until that inventory really boosts up, you're still going to see home prices accelerating. So what does this mean to you? So number one, if you are a buyer, if you want to buy, say I'm changing my notes. Do you know I use notes? I use notes. If you are a buyer and you want, you're saying, oh, should I buy now? Should I wait? Let me tell you, it's to your advantage to buy right now because mortgage rates are going to increase. Economists are saying that. Inflation's increasing, so the government responses to raise interest rates. It's going to happen. So borrow the money now while it's cheap to borrow, right? So for example, let's say you take a $400,000 mortgage. Now I know everybody can't afford that. I'm just using it as an example. $400,000. If you borrow that $400,000 today at 3.1% and compare that to if it goes up to 3.8 by the end of the year, that is almost $150 or $160 a month difference, right? So that really impacts how much house you can buy, right? Or what you can afford to in a house. So if you're buying, now's a good time to buy while money is cheap. But here's my word of caution. Don't buy to buy, right? Don't say, oh, I want to buy a house, I'll get a house. No, still use your judgment. Don't have buyer's remorse. And again, I did a video on buyer's remorse, and I'll put a link to it here. People just wanting to get into a house because of the market frenzy, and they get into the house and they say, I really don't like the layout, I don't like the neighborhood, right? Don't do that. But if it's a house you like, don't wait, borrow the money while it's cheap. Now, if you're a seller, sellers are an interesting character, right? Because some people are saying, yeah, I'd sell my house, but where am I going to go? And you know what? That is understandable. I'm like that myself. But if you're in a situation that you say, oh, I'm going to sell because I can live anywhere, or I have rental properties and I'll just cash out. So this is a good time. Why? Because interest rates are going to rise and buyers, there's that buyer demand. Buyers are going to want to get into a house now and borrow the money while it's cheap. So if you're in a place to sell, right, now's a good time to do it. Put the home on the market. Again, if it's a quality home, priced right, it will sell quickly. Buyers are going to they're going to discern which house is right for them and borrow the money. And I tell buyers all the time, be prepared, get that pre-approval letter. You cannot put an offer on a house and say, well, we have to get approved. You have to be approved now. So now I've talked about buying homes and selling homes. I want to talk a little bit about some guides that I have developed, guides, Guides, to help my community, to help my clients. And I'm offering it to you. So one, you see my branding that's called the Educated Move Approach. Now, you know my background. I was in education for 35 years. I was a school principal for almost 20 years. And so my key is to educate people to help make this whole process of buying and selling a home much easier to understand. So I have a guide called the Educated Move Approach. It's a free guide. And let me talk about the other two guides. I have a guide for buying a home and a guide for selling a home. So listen, if you're interested in any of these guides, just send me an email. My information's in the show notes below. You can visit my website, joebrownc21.com. Send me an email and say, hey, Joe, I'd like a copy of your guides. And I'll be glad to send them to you. I can send you all three, or if you just want one specific, I can do that, okay? Again, my goal is to educate you. I want to be your valued real estate advisor. And to do that, I share the information that I have with you so you better understand the process and you trust the process. I want you to trust me. That's why I make the videos. That's why I make myself available to phone calls or emails, right? So please, if you're interested in the guide, shoot me an email. Let me know what you think about these predictions. If you think I'm right on, leave a comment. Let me know. If you think I'm full of hot air, leave a comment. Mike, don't do that. So just let me know your thoughts. I truly appreciate you being with me for all the videos that you've watched. Let me know how I can help you. If you're considering, is this the right time to sell your home, the right time to buy your home, shoot me an email, call me. Let's talk to see if it's right. There's no cost, there's no obligation, just to get advice, okay? Thank you for being here. I love sharing this information with you because South Tampa, Florida living is awesome.